So I'm going to start with two stories for you today. The first one occurred when I was sitting in a coffee shop preparing for this talk. A photographer from Seattle introduced himself. He had heard my topic title and thought he had something to share that related to it. This photographer had recently visited detainees who had been deported to Tijuana, Mexico. He was interviewing detainees there, hoping to put together some sort of documentary. While he was there, he met a 68-year-old gentleman who spoke almost perfect English, and he was intrigued. So he interviewed this gentleman, and it turns out that this man had lived in the United States for 61 of those 68 years. Last year, he was deported following a traffic violation. He felt badly about that. He broke the law, but he's in a holding cell in Tijuana, waiting his future. What's missing in this story? 6 years ago, a few miles down the road, a young man sadly took his own life, a middle school student. Rafa, as he was known, was openly gay, living in a small conservative town. His family wanted answers. They pointed fingers at each other. They pointed fingers at the school. What was the story? Why would he take his life? Well, Rafa's friends revealed that he had been the target of bullying for months prior to taking his own life. What's missing in that story? Well, I can tell you what's missing in these two stories, and had it been present, the outcome of those two stories would be greatly different, vastly different. This missing factor is also missing in our daily lives. We don't need a huge event to see the lack of this. In the parking lot, at the grocery store, it's missing. At my daughter's dance class, it's missing. I guarantee it's missing in most of your workplaces and in our schools. It's empathy. Empathy is missing. Empathy is the capacity or the ability to understand what another person is feeling, but from their frame of reference. So it's putting yourself in another person's shoes and then responding to that person appropriately. Unfortunately, it seems that our current national affliction is a lack of empathy. I'm an educator, and to tell you the truth, I spend most of my days helping children solve social problems. Has anyone seen the movie Mean Girls? That's for real. I mean, our children are not super kind to each other all the time. It appears that this lack of empathy problem has filtered down to our future, to our children. My first year of teaching, a few moons ago, was in a small logging town on the west side of the state. Being the new teacher, the new kid on the block, I was given a very rowdy group of first graders. Yes. These children came from, let's call them hardscrabble homes. There was swearing, 6- and 7-year-olds, fist fights broke out, arguments constantly, just general chaos in the classroom and outside of the classroom. Being a first-year teacher, I am sure that I'm going to get them all to grade level standard by June, right? That's my job, and I will do it. Well, I quickly learned that there was no way this class was going to achieve any academic success if they couldn't operate as a community, and they weren't. So I shifted my focus. I like to say I closed my classroom door, shut out the expectations, the administration, my colleagues, and I shifted my focus to explicit empathy training with these students. We spent our days, most of those first weeks, learning how to solve problems appropriately. how to talk kindly to one another, and how to listen so we could understand the other side of the story. We read stories about empathy. They heard my stories about solving conflicts, what that looks like in the adult world. Remember, this isn't a child problem. This is a national problem. We practiced empathy as our friends walked in the door crying or upset after a rough morning at home. This class taught me that explicit empathy instruction could work. It took every single day of those 9 months to get my students to a place of empathy, but they did it. They took those skills out to recess. They took those skills to their homes. They took them out into the community. All I can do when they're in my care is help them to come from a place of empathy. Dr. Montessori said, establishing peace is the work of education. All politics can do is keep us out of war. I'm not sure they're doing a great job of that either, but that's another talk entirely. So what Dr. Montessori knew is that lasting peace has to come from the children as they grow into our future. I argue that empathy is the path to get us there. Now, more than ever, is the time to teach empathy explicitly. We can't wait. Fellow educators, I urge you to bring empathy training into the classroom on a daily basis if you can. Parents, what can you implement at home? Community leaders, business owners, corporate leaders, see if you can find someone to bring empathy training to your workplace. I promise it will make a difference. At the grandest level, I challenge our nation's leaders to practice decision-making from a place of empathy. Wouldn't that be a dream? Empathy is missing, but we can change that. Thank you.